Hey everyone, I'm Blake Oliver. Thanks for joining us. There's a lot of hype now around AI in accounting. Every software company, they're saying they have it, and every conference is talking about it. Every firm is trying to figure out what it actually means. But the real question is, what does AI in accounting look like in practice? Not just demos, not just buzzwords, what actually changes in accounting firms? And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what AI-powered, human-led really means, and you're going to get a sneak peek of Puzzle's new AI close. And to do all of this, I am joined today by Sasha Orloff. Sasha is the co-founder and CEO of Puzzle, an AI-native accounting platform built for modern firms. Sasha, so great to have you here.
Thanks for having me. This is going to be fun. Let's dive in.
Oh, and I lost your audio, Sasha. That's my fault. That's me here. Let me try to figure that out real quick. Why
can you hear me now?
Not getting your audio? Give me a second, everybody. By the way, if you are here for CPE, stay tuned. You'll get an email from the Earmark app, and you'll be able to take a quick quiz on the Earmark app and get your CPE afterward. So let me fix this here. Sasha, go ahead and say something for me.
Check.
No, I am still not hearing you.
Accountants rule the world.
This is so strange for me. Apologies, everyone. Give us a few minutes. Hey, if you are here in the live stream and you tell us where you're coming in from, you can hear him, but I cannot. That is wild.
Okay. All right.
That is my fault.
Well, good.
So
I'll just take it
tell
over.
you what, while I fix this, Sasha, I'm going to ask you my first question. Okay.
Okay.
And I want to know, what does it mean when you say AI-powered human-led? That's what we're here to talk about. The next generation firm is AI-powered, human-led. What does that mean?
Great. Well, thank you everybody for being here. We're excited to share. We have all this really, I think, exciting technology that's coming out. It's changing so fast, and in all these different industries, we have this sort of what can it do? What can all this new AI stuff do? I really think of it as just a smarter division of labor. Computers are good at some things, and humans are good at some things. And with AI now, computers are getting better and better at more things. So when we think and we get down to the root core, AI does the processing and accountants do the thinking. This is where things like categorization, reconciliation, anomaly detection, talking points with customers can all come together. And so our view is the role of accountants upgrades from transaction processing and review to spending more time on advisory with their clients and being able to take on more complicated accounts. Are we back, Blake? Can you hear me now?
Oh my God, I think I fixed it. I was having a heart attack. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you now. Okay, wonderful. Thanks, everyone. Well, that's the beauty of live streaming, is you never know what is going to happen. And actually, we're going to see a demo today of the AI close in Puzzle. And that's always one of those things that's exciting too, is like live demos. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So
no, we're going to go for it.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks everyone. I appreciate you all being patient with me. So Sasha, let's dig into this more, right?
Okay.
We have, what I am seeing in the AI that is coming out in like accounting products, general ledgers, let's just name them, right? We've got QuickBooks, we got Xero, the two big ones. We got NetSuite, we got Sage Intacct. I think those four cover like pretty much like the vast majority of the market, right? That's what we're using. And we're seeing like AI come into these products, right? But like, I'm struggling because like I turned on some like automatic reconciliation stuff the other day, and like it's doing it, and it's just like doing it, it's on its own, but I'm struggling to like trust it. Like, I don't know why it's doing what it's doing. It just does it. And it says, AI magic, right? So that doesn't work for me. I'm struggling with this. The other option though is continuing to do stuff the way I've always done it, which feels slow and feels stupid, like when there's all this technology. So like, what is the middle path here?
Yeah, I think that it brings up a good point, and that it gets to the core of why we're sort of trying to frame this more appropriately as governed automation. And so we see the industry moving in these two pretty big extremes right now. There's the we do things manually. That's the way that we've been doing like a lot of things for a long time. Or there's this, what you appropriately call the autonomous, what the industry's calling autonomous, which is the system's just going to do stuff and it's going to take its best guess because that's what AI is trained to do, is to go off and do a task and solve it. It's not there to solve it accurately. It's just there to solve it. It's a best guess. Sometimes we call it one-shotting, but it's sort of a go and don't come back unless you solved it. Well, in accounting, that I think is a challenge. And we hear from our customers, accounting firms, hey, I like the concept of automation, but I don't like the implementation of automation. I hope you get it right, or did something change? And so, accountants don't like both. This do it to your best guess and hope it's right, and do it without my permission. And so that's why we're calling this governed automation. And that's where we think AI does the work, but human sets the rules, review the output, and then they sign off. And so that's kind of this concept of nothing changes without your explicit permission, and it does exactly what you order it to do. And so I think that, I don't know, we're thinking of a right term, but I think governed automation feels like it. This is your automation. It's your intelligence. It's just doing the work on your behalf.
Yeah.
Just the same way that you could describe what you're doing to another staff member. When you hire new staff, you need to train them. Train your own set of governed automations.
But the thing about a staff person, like a human, is that I can go ask them to do a task, and then they'll do it, and then they'll explain what they did, why they did it. But I feel like I'm not getting that from a lot of AI. It just does it, right? And I don't know why it did it.
Yeah,
how can I trust that?
It's a good point. And so I think when we look at the analogy of, as a software company myself, the differences between some of the implementations of different code generation tools, which is things that build software. I think the original premise of AI was, we're just going to do our best guess and we're going to go make it work, and we're not going to explain anything. And then we got to an evolution, what was called reasoning, which is the AI is starting to explain its reasoning. So it's not perfect, but neither is human reasoning, but at least it now explains it. And so when we decide to design something called governed automation, it doesn't just mean that it's going to go off and do something that you say. It's going to come back with a response that describes, what do they understand the problem? How did they go about solving it? And what is the solution? And so I view this a little bit more as a design problem. This exists. It exists in a lot of other industries. It has not yet come to the accounting industry yet. And we're here to change that, which is, let me make sure I understand. Let me go off and go attempt to understand what this problem is. Let me draft a solution and why I'm proposing that. But I'm not going to do anything until you tell me. And so in our view, it's taking the best advantage of the technology and bringing it to an industry that I think hasn't quite seen or realized the full potential. And that is, I think, who you're designing for. I think a lot of when we come back to it, the incumbents are not designing for the accounting firms anymore, or at least don't seem to be. There's a whole host of reasons for this, but they're designing to own the relationship with the end user, whether that's because they view AI is taking the job of the accountant away, whether it's because private equity is moving in, whether because there's a talent shortage and people are just, we have to re-educate the market. But the incumbents seem to be taking their intelligence and AI and pointing it at, I want to own the business owner. And we can take that same technology and just design it for the accountant and the accounting firm. And I think this is possible because we see this in the engineering world with code generation, similar to accounting generation, is like, our CTO isn't going to just let AI go make some changes to our website. No, somebody has to review it. Somebody has to be accountable to the decision. You have to understand what's happening, because if you make a mistake, you have to be able to fix it. And so we see that design pattern working really well for our internal teams of how we build software. And so we're bringing something similar, I think, to this industry, designed specifically for the accounting firm, which I don't see happening very much yet.
So let's talk about what that looks like. Right now, we're all using chatbots. We're using ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Copilot. What is changing with the move from these chatbots to agents, the agents that you talk about?
I think this is the most exciting thing. And so that's why you will hear me talk about this for as much as possible to anybody that wants to listen, because I'm so excited about this. So if we, I want to talk about this in two ways. First, let's talk about the difference between like deterministic and probabilistic AI. And then let's talk about the differences between like an LLM and an agent for all intents and purposes. Now, if depends on how familiar everybody is, I'll try and create simple analogies to bring this to life. And so a deterministic versus a probabilistic AI, I think is the most important. So probabilistic, not surprising, is I'm going to give you an answer and it has some percentage that it is correct. And so we can think about this as if you go tell your kids to go clean up their room and they come back and they say, I cleaned up my room. What is the probability that that is true? It might be true. It might not be true, but it is not deterministically true. They are giving you a probability that they have followed the orders, right? A deterministic would be, here is a specific outcome. All clothes are off the floor. They're folded up and put into the drawers, and all the shelves are like put away, and the bed is made. Whatever sort of the set of measurable outcomes that you can go objectively measure, and then you go review that, and they say they cleaned it, and you said here's a set of standards, and I did it. Deterministic is there's a measurable outcome, and it has been achieved or not.
It is yes or no.
So now,
it is yes
it's
or
like
no.
a yes
it
or
is
no.
not some percentage completion.
Correct.
Okay.
And so when we talk about how this relates to accounting, having a bunch of autonomous probabilistic AI running around, meaning probabilistic, meaning maybe it's right, maybe it's not, and autonomous meaning it's making changes without your input or your control, that's probably terrifying. You don't want this touching your general ledger, at least not in a way in which it's just there's no audit log and there's no trail and you can't see these changes. Accounting systems need to be deterministic outcomes. And so this is why we think governed automation makes sense. You as an accountant know exactly what to do. You want to describe it. You want it to go do that thing and only that thing. And you want it to prove that it has done that thing and nothing else. And so this isn't like creativity. I'm coming up with we were talking before about generating AI music or a marketing campaign, which is like, okay, these can be fun if it changes some words, if it does something else, it doesn't matter. These can be fun. Accounting needs consistency and accuracy. So this is what you want to design. You want to design a deterministic outcome. Here's a very specific thing, and I want that thing to happen. And I want to prove and measure that it happened. So I think that.
So can we create a deterministic system using a probabilistic technology?
I think today it is closer now than it's ever been before. So now let's talk about, back to the original question, what's the difference between like an LLM, a large language model, or a chatbot and an agent? So a chatbot is like, I give a question and it gives me an answer. And an agent is I go do work, right? There is some measurable thing I'm going to do and then come back. That's the simplest way to think about it, right? And so what we think is the right solution and the best at taking advantage of this technology without getting into the problems of before is using a LLM or a large language model to create a deterministic set of outputs. Okay, what does that mean? So what we built behind the scenes is a set of individual functions or a set of very discrete steps. Pull transactions from this bank account, make these specific changes, make these rules, look at this general ledger, like every step that you would take. And what we use an LLM for, or a large language model as an interpretation, is to have you describe the task you want. We use an LLM to generate a set of steps. And we say, are these the steps that you want? You say yes, you hit save, and then it will draft it for you. It says, does this look right? You say yes, you literally have to type in YES or I agree or some other word, and that goes. I think that blends the probabilistic and the deterministic as best as we can in the world of accounting. And our accounting firms that have been using this and being our design partners have been very excited about the repeatability of a very specific outcome with the simplicity of, I just describe it. So you don't need to be an expert in AI. You don't need to be an expert in prompting. It helps. You can just describe the task like you would. Now, if you skip steps or you use vague words, just like you would to a human, it's going to give you a best guess, but you might need to change it a little bit. And so I think this is the right design for our industry.
So we're using, if I have this right, we're using the LLM to tell it. We're telling the LLM what we want, the objective we want, the task we want it to complete. And instead of just going out and trying to complete that task and coming back to us, which is, there's a percentage chance it's going to get it wrong, right? And sometimes that's really high, sometimes it's low, but it's always there. And so the way that we're handling that is it's not going out and completing the task, right? It's building, you said the deterministic, the yes, no pieces of what it would take to complete that task. And then it's going off and doing those.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So think about it as, if you had let's go back to the kids cleaning up the room analogy. I'll probably have to think of a better one in the future. But
no,
if
this
you
is
go
a
down
great
and you
one,
just say,
because I have this problem right now with my 11-year-old. Like, his definition of a clean room is not my definition. So,
right. So imagine being able to have something help you articulate this in a more precise way. So if I said to my kid, my son or daughter, which we just did today, go clean your room. And they just went and said, all right, I'm going to do my best guess and I'm going to go clean my room. But like you said, their definition and our definition might be slightly differently. So imagine your kid asking a couple clarifying questions before. Now we have to pretend you're not in the heat of moment of like, I told you to go clean up your room. But like, we're in a calm, rational conversation like we are when we're closing our books. And it says, oh, go clean your room. And it says, okay, great. I'm going to go clean my room. Can I ask you a couple clarifying questions? Do you mean just clean up the floor? And you're like, okay, I should probably definition. Yes, clean up the floor. Is that it? No, I want you to clean up the floor. I want you to put your clothes away. I want you to make your bed. And I want to, whatever, let's just stop there. Okay, so it's asking the clarifying questions, right? And so then in its brain, what it's doing is it's putting together a bunch of discrete deterministic steps. I need to go take everything off the floor. I need to put clothes in the dresser. Even that behind the scenes has a bunch of steps. I don't mean just shove it in. I want you to fold your clothes. And I want you to put the shirts in the shirt drawer. I want you to put the pants in the pants drawer. I want you to put the socks in the socks drawer, the underwear in the underwear drawer. All of these little micro steps, that's what we mean by functions building in behind the scenes. So if you were building a system for AI, you would define each of these little steps. And so when does it not work? It doesn't work when it doesn't ask clarifying questions. I think that's what an LLM is good at, asking clarifying questions. It doesn't work really well if you haven't put in all of these little steps along the way. That's what we do behind the scenes. We build more and more functions, and then we teach it how to go draft it and preview it for you. So it never makes a change. A bunch of safeguards we have in for security, for like determinism, for never making a change without the user's permission, for logging every change. This was AI on behalf of Sasha, marking in each of the logs. We put in a bunch of extra checks and balances, filters to make sure we're not sharing customer information, client information, names, et cetera, employee information. So these are the steps that we build behind the scenes. But so when it doesn't work, it usually doesn't work under two examples. One is we haven't wrote the functions. So if the system doesn't know what a drawer is, like if you say to your kid in a different language or whatever, like go take everything and put it in the drawers, and con las camisas, fold them and put them away in the drawer de camisa. And you're like, well, I don't even know what camisa means. Well, that means shirt in Spanish. Okay, well, great. It has to have a step that understands the language and understands what to do. So these are the places where it breaks down, not because it's not technically capable, because the AI has to learn what to do, and the functions behind the scenes have to be defined so that it knows what to do, if that makes sense.
So if my son was a puzzle AI agent, he would ask me clarifying questions about what I mean by clean your room. He would convert that into like yes, no, or yes, no conditions. Like all the clothes are off the floor, all the clothes are folded, all the clothes are in the drawers, and go even deeper and deeper and deeper, like as far as necessary. And then like basically check those off. I did this. Yeah. I did this. I did this. Wow.
Exactly.
I mean, like basically that's where I'm trying to get him to, that's where I'm trying to get him to, like, so. It's
Right. And
funny how
so
training
part of
an
this,
AI system sort of like it's like a child, isn't it?
yeah. And so we also have to accept some responsibility as users of if we don't describe in very clear steps and we don't go through the time, then it's not going to give you the right answer. And so the easy solution is, oh, the AI got it wrong, and it might. It's possible. That's why we designed it to not do anything unless it says, hey, is this exactly what you want? I'll go execute this thing exactly what you want. But if we don't describe it well, then the AI might interpret what we're doing or what we want it to do differently. And so it works together in a way that is different than a click on a screen where, you might say, I press a button, I see the button change, and there's like these two states and a toggle. And I know exactly what happens because the system has constrained it. This is different than an instruction manual where if you don't clarify all of the constraints that we used to write in code and we used to use designers to design to constrain to this very simple thing, it could interpret it in a different way. And so that is both a fun and a challenge for both us as builders and for you as users. And I get it.
So I love this example of the cleaning up the room. Can we do an example to illustrate it of like an accounting situation, like a business, a client, that sort of thing?
Yeah. Should we just do a demo and actually show this in action?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go. Okay. So here's the page where if you ever want to learn more, you can scroll through, but it's agents that execute your judgment. I think this is really important. So let's go over to what this looks like. Share this tab. Okay. So here's our design.
I should just pause for a second, right? So this is an alpha, like this is a preview feature in Puzzle right now.
Yes. And so what this means is we have about 7 active accounting firms that are using this right now today to help automate closing their books. And we're accepting more on the wait list now. If people want to play around with it and sign it up, we can show a demo. We can get feedback. Once we get to a place, alpha in kind of accounting words is like, in software accounting words, in software words is like, it works pretty well, but we know it doesn't work ready enough for everybody to use. So it's a little bit of language approval, designing, fixing things. Then we move to beta, which means we think it works pretty well and we want people to go use it. And then we'll do a full release. So this is like in preview mode, meaning this is being actively tested and designed with people. This is our actual website. This isn't like a fake demo. So almost certainly something will go wrong. Let's figure out and see what it can do.
All right.
Okay, so this is it. So the goal, what we tried to design this for, is to mimic a lot of your close process today. Your close process is filled with a bunch of steps. Maybe this is in a spreadsheet, maybe it's in a notebook, maybe it's in a Word document, etc. You add items to your list. In this case, we created this into 4 different versions. There's AI templates. These are things that we've just built. If you've never ever done anything with AI, this is like an easy way to get started. You can just pick one of these things. Again, remember, nothing is going to change ever. So, you can add, and then just if you don't like it, you just click delete. You can add my templates. So if you find this is helpful and you want to use this across different clients, that's where we think the real magic happens, is designing your own automation and applying it across all of your clients. So you don't have to do the same thing again and again. You can describe an AI-powered task. And, I think just to have a little fun, Blake, we should do one of these before this is over, and you should just describe something and we'll see. Or a manual step. Listen, not every AI is not going to solve all the problems. We still need to have some manual steps. It's just there to remind you. Okay, so this is it. Some of the things are not AI related, like reconciliations. If you connect your bank, we can draft your reconciliations for you. You don't need to do most of the work. So we'll give you your statement balance, the beginning balance, the deposits, the ending balance, and the difference. You can go through the full workflow here. This works really well with software. So we don't really need to do anything. This is already prepared in the system. But if we go back to this tab, it's here. We show you a little difference. You want to ask it questions about your reconciliation? You can. You want to change anything? You can. But we give you a little link right here, and you can just go look at our regular reconciliation flow. So again, this is important. It needs to be in the step. Not everything needs to be AI. Where does AI come into play? All right, fixed asset. So I did 2 just before to load it up because we're, this can be long. This is just a preloaded set of instructions. You can see we share everything. You can edit this, you can change it. It doesn't have to be that complicated. Identify and draft any fixed assets for the last month. Identify any transactions over $2,000 with descriptions, memos, or vendors that might suggest computers, hardware, equipment. Propose which to capitalize and suggest fixed asset entries based on transactions found. You can see here, it did a bunch of work or drafted a bunch of work. It didn't make any changes. It's going to ask some clarifying questions. So here's the response back. Here are some things that might be likely computer and hardware. A bunch of Apple transactions with no category or descriptions. These Apple purchases are above the capitalization threshold that you set. If you want to set a different number, you just change this number to whatever number you want. This is just an example of a SaaS company with computers. These are excluded transactions that are expensive but don't seem like they're eligible. If you think they do, you can just say, yes, they are. Next steps proposed. I would recategorize these transactions as computers and hardware. Again, here are the 3 transactions on the dates. After recategorization, draft the fixed assets, linking them to the transaction. Recommend confirming that what you want it to be described as. Great. Would you like me to recategorize these transactions and set up a draft fixed asset? Again, nothing is happening without your scenes. It's describing what it did. It's describing what happened. And I just wrote back, yes, please recategorize these 3 computers. Number 2, use the description employee computers. Again, you can go as deep as you want. You can require receipts. You can upload receipts. You can attach them. I just am keeping it simple for on screen. Okay, great. To proceed, I will recategorize these following transactions to computers and hardware. I will go through these transaction dates. I will draft each fixed asset for categorization with employee computers. Proceeding now. Great. Now it's coming back. All of these have been recategorized to computers and hardware, and I've drafted the fixed assets. Let me know if you have any further assets. So then I went over to check. Let's go over to the fixed asset tab. So these would be in draft state because it said I'm going to draft them. Again, nothing's happening without your control. I forgot actually. I put in there, let me go back, sorry. I wrote back and I said, yes, please put the assets in service. So when I go back over here, you're going to see the asset roll forward under the computers and hardware. Here are the 3 ones. It said employee computers. That was just the words I used. It drafted them. You can see here the schedule. In our case, we do it over a 3-year straight line. And so that's our internal policy, but you can set it to whatever you want. It learned because it knew that I had done computer depreciation before. It drafted the fixed asset, but only because I told it to. And so here it says, it's confirming all 3, quote, employee computers and fixed assets have now been put in service. Here they are. They will depreciate now according to the company's fixed asset schedule. So it learned and it did it automatically. You can change anything you want. Nothing is happening without your permission.
That's incredible. So like what I'm noticing about this is that it isn't just going and doing it all in one shot. It is stopping and asking me what to do when it doesn't know what to do, or when it's, how did you do that? Like, is there like some, like, is it like computing its confidence behind the scenes or something?
Well, when I go back to this technology is now available, it really kind of depends when you are as a firm are looking for what type of software do you want. I think one of the most important questions to ask is, who is the company building for? And so we build for accounting firms. And so when we realized, and working with accounting firms who give us very vocal feedback of what they want and what they don't want, what they didn't want is stuff changing without their permission, and asking clarifying questions so that we understand the logic. No, this actually took quite a bit of design work behind the scenes to make it work this way. And so there's a lot of checks and balances and a lot of system design so that it is not making changes. It's tracking audits. It's asking for clarifying questions. And we're recording that the user is always in control. The accountant is always in control. Why is this different? If I put my Sasha, not the CEO of an accounting software company, to Sasha, the CEO or the business owner of a company, sometimes I just like want it done and I don't really care. And I actually optimize for just like, do the best you can. It doesn't really matter. We'll deal with it later. So if you're designing systems to do that, That's because why would you have an autonomous system? Why would you have it one-shot guess? Why would you just go on a probabilistic, make changes without people know? It's because you're designing not for the accountant. And so this is hard, but very possible.
Okay, so that fixed assets example is really powerful. I mean, that would take so much work. I'm picturing, going through the ledger, right, digging down into the detail. I've got to go pull out all the high value transactions and then sort through them myself, and then figure out which ones are computer purchases, and then create the depreciation schedule, right? Put them in service, all that, and it's done that all for me. And like, how long did that take?
Oh, it took I don't know, 20 or 30 seconds.
Okay, so basically,
Right.
like hours of work in 20 or 30 seconds, right?
Right. And when you break down, some things are the same. Reconciliations are somewhat the same, whether they're connected or disconnected. Some things are same by industry. Some things are unique to the client. So as you go through and build your checklist, you can save them as your firm for yourself across all of your clients. Right now, you can just click run all and it will do it for you, right? So if you have 30 tasks that the AI each takes 20 or 30 seconds, let's say a minute, just to keep it round numbers. Okay, great. Like I could go through and click for 30 minutes and maybe that saves me time, or just run all and then come back. And then we'll tell you when it's ready. It'll say ready for review when it's ready for review. So similarly, make me a bank account. You don't want to connect it. This is a slightly more complicated one. But again, we share all of the prompts. I went through and wrote a big complicated prompt.
Sasha, this is a thing. This is another thing that bugs me about like bad AI implementations in accounting software, is that like they don't share the prompt with me. Like I press the button, I don't know what the AI is getting, right? It's like obfuscated, but you're showing the entire prompt that goes to the LLM.
I'm sure we can make this prettier, but yes, here's the entire prompt. And we've iterated on this over time. And you can go through. So even if you just like want to go try this yourself directly into any AI, you can grab it, you can steal it, you can edit it, whatever you want. It's there for your usage, because we want you to see exactly what's happening and be able to apply it, because it might be slightly different for your client or that bank account. Or maybe you like it to be done in a slightly different way. That's totally okay. Our job is to empower you to have the control that you need. And so here is the prompt. And then it's going through each of the steps.
Yeah. So what is this? What is this doing? This is a bank account where I don't have a bank feed and I need to reconcile it.
Yeah. I want to upload a PDF. I know nothing about this. All I have is a bank statement. I just uploaded a bank statement with these instructions, and it will go through and I defined each step. So step one, get all the data out, get the metadata out for the reconciliation. Opening balance, closing balance. Again, nothing is happening without the user's permission. It's just saying first extract the data, then get all the statement transactions. And I put in this prompt says, take all of the things, put a date, a description, whether it's a debit or credit, a running balance, a type, and any notes in there. Great. So I can see payroll, deposits. Now go through and take a guess at what GL category it should relate to, what's our confidence level, and then any notes, so that you can go through and scan it to see if it's right. Then let's do the statement reconciliation. And then let's do the statement and measure it against the system, the GL. And are they the same? And so if you get a little, you can change the icons if you don't like it, but you have the icons. And then it says at the end, next steps. Again, nothing happened. It's just doing its work to prepare everything for you. All extracted transaction data, including categorization flags, including a downloadable CSV. I will now draft a CSV, a reconciliation table, and audit activity if you want. I said yes. Great. So it did this. Now I could also say, hey, I want to add this to the GL. And it would come back and say, this is already happening, but it would say, okay, well, you don't have a GL account for this bank account. Do you want to create a new GL account? Yes, go create a GL account. Each of those are specific steps and functions. Great. What do you want to call it? Back to the clarifying questions. Do you want to call it, Bank of the Ozarks? Great. September reconciliation. I will do that. Do you want me to load all these transactions into it? Yes, I will go. Can you send me a link so I can verify that this all happened in the GL? Great. Can you draft? So it's just going to keep going.
So basically, I can
until,
just hand it a bank statement, and it's just it can create the entire bank account and all the transactions, and even like already pre-coded, like as with confidence
yeah.
levels.
And if you don't like anything, you change it. So nothing is happening without your explicit permission. So it's designed to be able to do your work that you want on your behalf.
What other like sorts of tasks could you accomplish with this? I mean, fixed assets, a bank rec where we don't have a bank feed. What is
All right,
the
I'm gonna turn this back on you.
okay?
Let's
Okay.
do one. All right, I'm gonna move my mic around
Uh-oh.
so I can type something. Okay, we're just gonna go select an AI powered task. Uh-oh, I should be the one saying uh-oh. Let's see if this works. All right, what should we do? What should we call this task name?
Okay, so one of the issues I had when I had my firm was we would send out, traditional like financial statements, income statement, balance sheet, statement of cash flows to our clients as a PDF package every month, and like most of them would not look at it. What they would look at is if I like wrote up a summary of what was going on, but that was like really time consuming, and only I could do that. So
Yeah.
can we get the AI to do that? Can we say like financial statement narrative?
Yeah. All right, let's call this whatever you want. Financial statement narrative. That's optional. All right. How would
Okay.
you describe it?
So I know we can get like really detailed, right? But I'll just try to like keep it simple. It's like, review and analyze the last month's financials and draft a financial statement narrative for a general business owner explaining the highlights that they need to be aware of. Like keep it like executive summary level. Don't use jargon.
All right. So we can see that we wrote something just as you described it to me. I didn't do anything fancy. I didn't change anything. And we're just going to take that, create an AI agent. That's it. So that was as simple as that's as hard as me. Yeah. Now we're going to run it.
Okay.
So we're going to just click this button to run it, and it's going to go do its thing. So what it's happening behind the scenes is it's now creating a set of steps behind the scenes to try and match what we're doing. In this case, you don't need to know what do I share and what do I not share. It's going to go do it. All right, it's done. Let's see what's
So
happening.
it's going and it's looking at like the income statement, like what I would do, right? It's figuring out, I need to go look at the income statement, the balance sheet, and I need to like figure out what's important and summarize it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so in this case, again, no changes are happening. In this case, it's probably not a change basis. It's just something you can do. You can see it was pretty quick. So you can imagine your client calls and they want to talk in 30 minutes. You finished it. You don't know what to do. You can just type this into the system and it will prepare you for the call. Or if you want to draft an email or send this out, let's see what it says. All right, cash position. This is our demo account, which we have behind the scenes that people can use to play with and evaluate cash position. As of March 18th, the demo holds approximately 1.2 million in cash. This remains healthy, but cash continues to decline at a steady rate. Burn rate and runway. The company's monthly cash outflow is about 140K at this pace. You'll have available funds to November 2026. This gives you about 8 months of cushion. Revenue growth, revenue's trending upwards. Revenue came in at this amount, noticeable jump from previous amount. Annualized revenue looks like it's been increasing a good amount. There's some major expenses. Maybe you want to review. Payroll's a large expense, software, technology. There's major vendors, some unusual items. There's an unusual spike in uncategorized expenses. Whoops, this is a demo account. So obviously, hopefully this doesn't exist when you have closed your books with your client, but it is saying,
I never have large amounts in uncategorized expenses. Ever.
Never. Clients always provide all of the data that you need, all of the information super easily. Takeaway, the business is showing solid revenue growth, but expenses, especially payroll, are substantially higher than income. Cash reserves are adequate for now with the current levels of spending, new fundraising. Let me know if you'd like a deeper breakdown or additional analysis in a specific area.
Okay, can we do another one?
Yeah, you want to follow up on this one or you want to do something
No,
different?
I want to do a different one because I just thought of something else that I used to do. Is like, could it do like a short-term cash flow forecast for like let's say the next 13 weeks. Like, and I guess
All right. How would you describe it?
I would say like, generate a 13-week cash flow forecast. Include a like table and include like a short summary, like narrative, I guess. Yeah, it should know that, right? Okay.
We'll find out. All right. So let's see what happens. It's going to go through and do something. I
feel like this is a tougher one, right? Because I'm asking it to like project into the future. So like we haven't been very specific.
Yeah.
So okay.
All right. Let's see what happened. That was pretty quick. All right. So key assumptions: starting cash balance at this amount, monthly bank burn this amount, forecast period 13 weeks, approximately 3 months, no material change in revenue or expenses, seasonality or non-recurring items not explicitly forecasted due to lack of pattern evidence. And so here's starting starting cash, projected inflows, projected outflows, net change, ending cash, notes. Here's some notes, short summary. If the current trends persist, the company's cash balance is projected to decline steadily over the next 13 weeks, decreasing from 1.27 to approximately 953. This forecast assumes revenue expenses remain stable, do not include any extraordinary items or changes. You remain in a strong cash position. Would you like a downloadable version or a more detailed breakdown? So I want to point out, it didn't ask clarifying questions this time because it wasn't going to make any changes in your system.
Oh, okay, got it.
You asked a question,
yeah,
and it's giving you an answer. Go ahead.
So if you go down to the table, so basically what it did is it just did the same inflow and the same outflow for each week, right? And with the cash balance, and then gets to the end. But like, can we ask it a follow-up? Could we ask it to like, I don't know if you have this in the demo data, but it's like could you like use the like bills and invoices in the system to like model the cash forecast?
You meaning sort of the balance sheet, accounts payable, accounts receivable?
Yeah. So it's like, I've got like invoices, right, that have due dates, right? And so could it use the invoice like due dates to like project when that money's going to come in? And could it use my bill due dates to like project when the money's going to go out? But I guess that would work if we had that data in the system. I just don't know if you have that.
If we had the data in the system, I don't know. I think in a real, so this is some of the downfalls of like sample dummy data. But let's see. Are there any outstanding balances in accounts payable or receivable? Gotta know how to type. So I don't know if there's any in this demo data. But if there was, it should have hopefully taken that account, or we can add it in and say, our AR, let's see, accounts payable. There are no line items in accounts payable.
Okay, so that's why it didn't consider that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's. So I'm seeing the potential here, right? It's like, if we could basically tailor our prompt, we can enhance it by saying to include that. And if it was in the data, it would go get that and it would use that in the forecast. So like, I'm just thinking like this was like a service that we provided to our biggest clients, was maintaining this cash forecast for them, but it took a lot of time, right? Like, and we just did that in like, seconds. And I think we could get it. We might be able to, it feels like we could get it to the point where it would be just as good as what I was doing manually.
Right. And so in the future, to try and make this even easier, right, we described this in a fairly simplistic term for, again, a fairly simplistic staging set of dummy data. But you can edit this and just keep giving it more details.
Yeah.
So as you get better and say, hey, instead of just a cash forecast using the cash basis, let's make sure we include and look for outstanding receivables or there. Or if we think there's going to be like ongoing one-time things or some things that the system doesn't know, let's include those. And then at the end, when you're done, you can just click Save to My Templates. And then it will show up here in my client 13-week cash flow forecast.
And I can
You
use
hit
it across
save.
my clients.
You can use it across your clients. You can, and then here in my templates, here it is, 13-week cash flow forecast.
So is Puzzle built in a way where these agents can touch like everything a human could touch?
Well, while it's still in this preview mode, we're constantly teaching it more functions, and we're teaching it how to use the system better. So this is why it's in alpha, because we're trying to really battle test this and make sure we understand. And if it doesn't, that the messaging has come back and says, I haven't learned how to do that yet. And so,
Got it.
So we get that. So the one of the hardest challenges, funny enough, is AI is trained on the corpus of data on the internet. And so one of the things that we all know are we do a lot of manual journal entries and spreadsheets in accounting. And I don't think that's because we all really want to. It's because of the limitations of how some of the incumbents have built their systems. So the AI is trained on how to do workarounds on QuickBooks and Xero. That's just how AI has been trained. And so we have to actually untrain it a lot of times because it defaults to, I'm going to create a spreadsheet and create a summary manual journal entry. And you're like, well, actually, Puzzle can do depreciation and amortization in the system. You just have to describe what is the policy that you want. And so it's like a funny anecdote. Part of it is just teaching it what to do. And part of it is untraining it from the bad behavior of the internet and Reddit and the blog posts of workarounds.
And you're calling them functions. And like, I guess what I would call that from a human perspective is a skill, right?
Yes.
It's like, so you're teaching the AI the different like skills that a human bookkeeper, a human accountant would have that they would learn in the software. And you're eventually going to teach it all of those.
Yeah, there's skills and steps. I think that's a good thing to do.
Okay.
So functions can be different steps, and skills are how to assemble those steps, how to take what you're describing and assemble those steps into a skill, right? Like a skill, for all intents and purposes, is a set of steps. We just, as humans, don't always need to articulate them because we're humans and our brains can operate in a way. I don't have to think through every step of like lean in, but there's some set of like steps that my brain is going through from the thought into lean in or raise my hand or, wave high.
So this is going to really change things inside of firms because just in these two examples, we're talking like hours of work that are like automated now. And we're going to get to the point where we can automate it with high enough confidence. Like we're basically taking that probabilistic technology and it's becoming deterministic, and we can say yes or no, it did the job, right? So like, how do you see that changing how accounting firms work? Like, what are you seeing with that?
I think the first and most obvious impact is just margin expansion, meaning when automation can handle more and more of the things I think designed under the accountant's control, that we think, and we think that it will be at least 50% today, right now, difference in the amount of time to generate accurate books. And I want to make sure that we're clear on like, it's not theoretical time savings in a demo. It's like the standard is accurate books, whatever the accuracy standard is of the firm, because different clients want different levels of accuracy. A brand new company or a small business would be different than somebody with a debt line that needs to report financials, than an audited company, than a public company, obviously. So the level of accuracy isn't agreed upon with the firm and the client. But we think it will get it today, right now, we see about half of the time it takes to close the books against some of the incumbents at the same or improved level of accuracy. So obviously that changes the economics of the firm immediately. And it can be used in one of two ways. The way that we hope it does is that you transition to more of an advisory. Like you said, spend more time on that cash flow forecast, spend more time improving the financial health. That is the part that drove me to start Puzzle, was multiple companies that I've grown and scaled. When we had huge engineering and huge accounting teams, I could understand the truth of the business and have conversations. That's the part I liked the most. And so my view of why we started Puzzle was to take the literally reigning experts in financial health, accountants, and bring them close to the table of decision making. But that had to mean it had to be accurate to the agreed upon level. It had to be real time, because I'm thinking about, this month and next month. I'm not thinking about last month compared to last month. And I'm thinking about implications for my capital decisions. Am I hiring? Am I firing? Am I spending more on marketing? Am I spending more on inventory? What am I doing? But realistically, like, this also means you can just do the same amount of clients with less effort and take that time and spend more time with their kids, teaching them how to clean their room better.
So the time cuts in half. What does this actually mean for the margin expands, right? If we can take on more clients, same amount of time. What about like the staffing, right? Because like how does that change? How does that work? Like this is work that maybe a staff accountant would do that we aren't going to need them to do anymore.
Well, yeah, I think this is absolutely true. And if we think you can take on 2 more clients with the same amount of effort today, by this summer, it will probably be 3. And by the end of the year, it'll probably be 5, just given the progression of what we're able to build and what we're seeing. So you'll take on more clients. So if we were in a market where there was an overabundance of accountants, I think that would be a bigger concern. Right now, what we see from ours is there is a demand for more accountants. Like, we have a shortage of accountants and there's an abundance of clients. So what can that mean? It might mean new products in the market for those business owners who, the price point didn't work for them and they chose to DIY it or to do their own books. And we all know the problem with cleanups and the mess that takes. So maybe there's going to be new products in the market that can appeal to, I think it's estimated about half of the small businesses in the country don't use an accountant or a bookkeeper for whatever reason. So I think there can be an invention of new types of products. I think that my call, which we made on a previous call, is accountants will make more money than ever before because of AI, because they'll move more from billable hours of specific outcomes. There will be more fixed pricing for traditional accounting deliverables. And the things that we talked about, the cash flow forecast, the analysis, we can bill at a higher hour, and that should be billable hours. So I think the pricing models will change to more of a fixed plus incremental billable hours. I think that will result in more money made by accountants because clients will pay for it because it's more valuable work. And I think that eventually more businesses will be created, which will increase the demand for accountants and different types of products in the market.
I love that vision. We got some comments going on in the live stream. Cynthia said, "You will need to rewrite the expectations of the entry-level staff accountant. Still need them, but what they will do is a little more sophisticated." What do you think of that,
We see
Sasha?
that. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a great point. I want to point out, we see the trajectory of AI. We have built the data platform, the general ledger, and the agents from the ground up. There is always going to be the need for accountants. Even if AI could technically, theoretically do every step, the reality gets in the way. An API goes down. The client doesn't tell you what this thing is. They withdraw cash out of the bank account and they don't know what it is. There's an edge case. The business grows and gets bigger and the complication arises. There's a market shift. There's always going to be a need for edge case handling, for following up with the client for solving it. So just because AI can theoretically solve a discrete step doesn't mean it can solve the whole book. So I don't see a world in which accountants don't exist, but the expectations of accountants, especially junior or staff or entry-level accountants, will shift to review, approve, design the account, design the chart of accounts, design the policies, design the rules, have that agreed upon expectation with the client to the level of accuracy and what they need. And then they will design the set of agents to go do their work. You'll have to unstick them every once in a while because it will say, I don't know what to do. And we've designed it in a way that it only does stuff with your permission. So I think the work changes, but I think it gets more fun and complicated, which I find more interesting.
I agree. Nobody wants to be doing the manual work anymore. We're all ready.
Yeah. Hey, it's more fun. You're doing more complicated things and you're getting closer to the client. And I found, regardless of the role, but especially as a sort of somebody who works with accountants, both for my job as CEO and as my job as CEO, I really enjoy the conversations about what's happening in the business and what are the changes in the business and how should we think about the health of the business and how do we improve it. And so I think those are some of my most interesting conversations I have as a business owner.
Michael said, what a brilliant model. You allow firms to maintain control, but gain guidance, enabling proactive advisory. Love that comment, Michael.
I appreciate that comment a lot. And I would like somebody like you to come battle test and help us like make this better. We designed it in a way that we think is really valuable, but there's still a long way to go. We want to make it approachable and solve more problems. So feedback, always welcome.
You can join the wait list for the AI close with Puzzle at puzzle.io/AI-close. And
yeah, or if you just get to the website, there's a big banner on the top that you can't miss to join the waitlist. We hope to have this ready for, I would say like the next phase in April. Like there's that one date in April that I always forget what it is. I think it's April 15th. It happens every year.
And
then,
rings a bell. Rings a bell.
Rings a bell. And then 1 or 2 days of celebration, hangover, run time, and then like a Monday, and then we'll release it to the next set of people on the waitlist.
So puzzle.io, you'll see that banner right at the top. Join the wait list. Lucas says, someone needs to take responsibility as well. So I think that was in response to this idea like that, the work is getting automated, but you still need someone to check it, to take responsibility for making sure that it's right, to look at what is being done and to validate it. Say, looks good.
I agree. Accounting has always been and will always be about trust. And so AI actually makes that a little more complicated. And so we have to design a set of workflows and structural, design to make sure that there is somebody accountable. Because there might be a set of business owners out there who are like, I don't really care. But I don't think that's the case. I think it's, do I care at the cost of how long it takes to get to that level of comfort? And this allows us to get to a level of comfort, but it still has to be auditable. You have to know who did it. You have to be able to trace it. You have to be able to undo it. And I think when we talk a little bit about what are some of the structural advantages to a set of software that is designed and built for AI versus a set of software that is designed and built for desktop, and then adapting that to cloud, it's still in a world of click-throughs and manual workflows. But I mean, the example is if you want to change revenue in one of the legacy solutions from 1 million to 10 million, you just need to know where to put a zero. And you can make that change pretty easily. And sometimes it's pretty hard to understand. Now, imagine a future in which agents are doing the majority of the work. Who directed that agent? When did it do the work? What were the decisions and the thought process? And who at the end said yes? And so if that is an autonomous system, you just might not know. It might make changes when you're asleep. You might not be able to undo them because you might not be able to see them. This is a world in which automation is going to get more complicated and more complex. And so we designed a system that has to maintain that trust. And I think that actually becomes harder in an AI world. So that's why feedback is also very welcome on how we improve that for you.
Sasha, thanks so much for showing this to us today. I learned a lot. Thank you for educating me on this deterministic versus probabilistic AI. Like, this approach is incredible. I hope there's developers listening who are building other accounting products, because like this is how it should be done. Everyone who is tuning in live or watching the recording, and you want to get CPE for this, you can do it with the Earmark app. Stay tuned for a quick message about how to get your CPE. We will also email you a link to take the quiz and get your CPE. So Sasha, thanks so much for joining me, and can't wait to talk to you again soon.
Thanks for having me. Thank you, everybody.
Today's event has ended. To earn CPE, go to earmark.app or scan the QR code on the screen. Then log in or create your free account. Search for the course by tapping on the magnifying glass icon on the home screen and then entering the name of this event. It takes a few days to make the course, so if you're attending this event live, keep an eye out for an email letting you know when the course is available. Pass the quiz to earn your CPE, then tap the button to email yourself a certificate. Stay tuned for more events from Earmark. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.